Welcome to the Paypeople Company Setup Training video. In this session, we'll guide you how to set up your organization and how to use Paypeople as a HR. To set up an organization in Paypeople, start by navigating to the Setup screen. This screen displays all the relevant options required to configure your organization. Begin by setting up your company profile. Here, you can enter your company name, select the company type, and upload your company logo. In the Contact Information section, you can add your company website and email address. Additionally, you have the option to enable the Employee Lifecycle feature to track changes made to employee profiles. You can also make the National ID card field mandatory if you wish to include it in employee profiles. In the Salary Calculation method, you need to specify whether employees' salaries will be calculated based on calendar days or working days. If you choose working days, you can decide whether to calculate salaries over 22 or 26 days. If you select the calendar option, salaries will be calculated based on the number of days in the current month. In the Others section, you can configure the time zone, currency, and amount precision. Additionally, you can define loan eligibility criteria for employees and set deductions based on either gross salary or basic salary. This section also allows you to apply the full sandwich rule or half sandwich rule to your attendance policy. You can enable various features to enhance functionality and security, such as allowing multiple loan requests, enabling multi-factor authentication (MFA), and setting payslips to be password protected when sent via email. Additionally, you can choose to exclude paid hours, such as paid leaves and holidays, from reports. For employee profile updates, you can activate the profile workflow requirement to streamline and monitor changes effectively. Additionally, you have two options for the pay slip format, and you can choose the one that best suits your company. You can define the minimum check-in and maximum checkout times for employees to regulate attendance effectively. Additionally, you can set the time span for multiple check-ins and checkouts to ensure accurate tracking of working hours. The gratuity policy allows you to configure how gratuity is calculated for employees. You can choose between total working days or calendar month days as the basis for calculation. Additionally, the policy can be managed automatically or manually, depending on your company's preference and requirements. Attendance regularization settings allow you to customize how regularization requests are raised based on your company's specific requirements. In a multi-organization setup, you can configure additional companies along with their respective policies. Next, we will set up work locations in Paypeople. You can add multiple locations to the system. To create a new work location, click on Work Location and add the location name, select the country and city, and enter the zip code. If you want to track employees' live locations during check-in and check-out via the mobile app, enable geotagging. You can also define office boundaries using the geofencing option by specifying the latitude, longitude, and radius in meters. Finally, add the office address, select the manual option, and save the details. In the Asset section, you can manage company assets efficiently. Start by searching for an employee and then provide the asset details, including the serial number, asset name, and status, such as issued, assigned, or disposed. Specify the asset type, price, purchase date, and guarantee date. You can also add a description for additional information. Once all the details are entered, click Save to record the asset. In the Department section, you can create and manage departments within your organization. To create a new department, enter the department name, assign the head of department, and, if applicable, add any sub-departments. Once all the details are filled in, click Save to finalize the setup. In the Designation section, you can create and manage job titles within your organization. To add a new designation, simply enter the designation name and click Save to complete the process. In the Employee Group section, you can create and manage attendance policies for different employee groups. Start by adding a group code, group name, and description. For instance, to create a missing attendance policy, decide whether the system should automatically deduct leave when no attendance is logged. If yes, specify how many days of leave should be deducted for each day of missing attendance and after how many days this deduction should begin. Paypeople provides 3 options for late arrival policies, wage-based, penalty-based, and hour-based. To implement any of these policies, you first need to define a grace period. In the wage-based policy, salary deductions are calculated based on the total minutes or hours an employee is late. The penalty-based policy allows you to set a specific amount for per-minute deductions. With the hour-based policy, you can permit a maximum number of late arrivals in a month, after which leave deductions apply. For instance, you can specify that for every set number of late arrivals, a certain number of leave days will be deducted. Lastly, you can choose whether the deduction applies to the employee's salary or their paid leave balance. In Paypeople, the early out policy offers the same options as the late arrival policy. You can choose from wage-based, penalty-based, or hour-based policies to manage early departures effectively. The hourly deduction policy in Paypeople provides flexible options for managing salary deductions. In the wage-based option, deductions are calculated based on the total hours or minutes an employee falls short. You can also set deductions to apply if the effective working hours in a month are below a specified threshold. For shift-based policies, deductions are applied according to specific shift requirements. Additionally, the percentage-based option allows you to deduct a set number of days if the average effective working hours in a month fall below a defined percentage of the required hours. In Paypeople, the half-day policy allows you to define two time ranges, one for the first half of the workday and another for the second half. You can set a limit on the maximum number of half-day incidents allowed within a certain period. If this limit is exceeded, leave will be deducted accordingly. For instance, you can specify that for every set number of half-day incidents, a certain number of leave days will be deducted from the employee's leave balance. In Paypeople, a missing swipe occurs when an employee fails to clock in or clock out. You can set a policy to deduct a specific number of days if the total missing swipes in a month exceed a specified number of working days. Additionally, the missing swipe rule can be ignored if the employee's average effective hours percentage is greater than the desired threshold of total working hours. In Paypeople, the overtime policy allows you to manage overtime in different ways. You can define overtime based on employee type. You can choose to calculate overtime based on effective hours or absolute hours, depending on whether you want to account for actual working hours or set working hours. Or service period, depending on your company's needs. Additionally, all overtime is added as time off in lieu, which increases the employee's leave balance instead of being compensated with direct pay. In Paypeople, the compensatory leave policy offers three options for managing compensatory leave. You can choose no compensatory leave policy if you don't wish to offer compensatory leave. Alternatively, employees can raise a manual request to obtain their compensatory leave balance. The third option allows the scheduler to automatically assign the compensatory leave balance based on predefined rules or schedules. In Paypeople, you can assign policies based on various criteria such as location, department, designation, employee types, and specific employees. This allows you to tailor policies to different segments of your workforce, ensuring that each group or individual adheres to the appropriate guidelines. In Paypeople, employee grades can be linked with expenses to manage financial allocations based on employee levels. To set this up, you need to define the grade code and grade name, then specify the expense type associated with each grade. You can set both a yearly limit and a monthly limit for the expenses, along with the effective from date to determine when the policy starts. In the Docs section of Paypeople, you can manage company files effectively. You need to specify the document type, such as HR policies or finance policies, and provide the document name. You can set access rights, allowing either self-service or administrator access. Define the location which location employees can have the access of the file, and specify the expiry date. Additionally, you can set a notification to alert users about document expiry X months before the expiry date. Lastly, add a description to provide further context about the document. Add attachment file. In the Events section of Paypeople, you can create and manage events by specifying the title and event location, along with the event date and start time. You can choose whether to allow comments for the event and define the event access by selecting specific criteria such as location, department, designation, or individual employees who are eligible to attend. Master Data in Paypeople allows you to customize the system by adding any drop-down values. This feature enables you to define and manage various options, ensuring that the system is tailored to meet your specific business needs. In Paypeople, there are many types of requests such as leave, loan, expense. The approval configuration feature in Paypeople allows you to manage approval workflows effectively. Begin by specifying the form name and approval name. You can configure approvals by setting up to 10 levels of approvers or opting for the system to automatically approve or reject records. Approvals can be assigned based on reporting to or defined rules. Additionally, you can configure an email template to send notifications when a request is approved or rejected, ensuring seamless communication throughout the process. The email notification feature in Paypeople allows you to configure automated alerts for various events. Start by entering the name of the notification and adding a label to categorize the alert, such as birth date or hire date. Define the offset in days to specify how many days before or after the event the notification should be sent, and select the time for the alert to be triggered. You can choose who the alert applies to: all active employees, employees from selected departments, or specific employees. Specify the subject and content of the email to ensure clarity. Finally, decide the recipients of the alert, such as the employee's manager or the employee themselves. The checklist configuration feature in Paypeople allows you to create detailed checklists for processes like onboarding. Start by entering the onboarding name and optionally specify whom the checklist applies to, such as all employees or specific teams. Next, add tasks by providing a task name and a description. Specify who should receive the task, such as all administrators, all managers, or the employee being on board. You can also select specific employees responsible for performing the task. Define the due days for completing the task, add a trigger to automate task notifications, and include subtask names that has to be performed. Once all details are entered, click Save to finalize the checklist. In Paypeople for offboarding, the procedure is the same as onboarding in the checklist configuration feature. Next, we will set up the time screen in Paypeople by configuring shifts. Begin by specifying the shift name and selecting whether it is a flexible shift or a night shift. Define the shift start time, end time, break start, and break end times. You can also choose whether to exclude break time from working hours. Set the start time threshold and end time threshold to define allowable variances in shift timings. Specify the overtime start time after the shift and the maximum overtime limit to regulate overtime hours. Finally, select the working days for the shift and click Save to complete the setup. In the public holiday section of Paypeople, you can configure holidays for your organization. Start by entering the name of the holiday and specifying the from date and to date. Define whom the holiday is applicable for by selecting specific locations, departments, designations, religions, or individual employees. Once all the necessary details are entered, click Save to finalize the holiday setup. The leave type configuration in Paypeople allows for detailed customization of employee leave policies. You can start by specifying the name, code, and type of leave, paid, unpaid, or compensatory, as well as whether the leave is unit-based on hours or days. Additionally, you can add a description and decide if providing a reason for leave is mandatory. The eligibility criteria can be set based on joining date or calendar days, and you can configure leave eligibility for confirmed employees, probation employees, or both. For leave accrual, you can choose whether it should be prorated and set the accrual frequency as either yearly or monthly. You can also define the number of days of leave, the carry-forward limit, and how long the carry-forward is valid in months. The leave policy can be applied to specific employees based on gender, marital status, location, designation, or employees. Restrictions can be defined for weekends between leave periods, as well as for the durations allowed, full day, half day, or both. You can set whether leave requests can be made for past days, future days, or both, and specify the minimum and maximum leave that can be availed per application. The system can also enforce a minimum gap between leave applications and a minimum leave intimation period, in days. Additional options include deciding if a file attachment is required and whether leave can be requested when the balance is 0. Once all settings are complete, click Save to finalize the leave type configuration. Once the leave type is created, you can add it to the leave calendar by specifying the code and name for the leave entry. Next, set the from date and to date to define the period for which the leave is applicable. Select the appropriate leave type that you created earlier, and finally, click Save to add it to the leave calendar. To set up the overtime policy in Paypeople, you first need to create pay codes. Begin by adding the name, description, and pay code name, then specify the rate factor, such as 1x, or a fixed rate for the pay code. Once the pay codes are created, you can apply them to the overtime policy for different scenarios, such as working days, weekly off, and public holidays. For each category, enter the name of the overtime policy and specify the effective from date. Then, for each category, add the overtime allowed time in minutes and select the appropriate pay code. You can assign different pay codes for each policy type, ensuring flexibility in your overtime rules. Once all configurations are complete, click Save to finalize the overtime policy. In Paypeople, to configure the payroll schedule, start by specifying the schedule name and defining the pay period, fortnightly, monthly. Determine how to handle scenarios where the payday falls on a holiday by selecting options like Run Payroll Earlier or Run Payroll Later. Next, set the pay period start date and pay period end date to define the time frame for each payroll cycle, and specify the pay date when the salary is processed. Once all details are entered, click Save to finalize the payroll schedule setup. In Paypeople, to configure a deduction, start by specifying the name in payslip for easy identification. Next, define how the deduction amount will be calculated. You can choose a fixed amount or a percentage of salary. Then, select the appropriate deduction tax plan, specifying whether the deduction is taxable or non-taxable. Enter the amount of the deduction, and once all details are configured, click Save to finalize the deduction setup. In Paypeople, to configure a contribution, start by specifying the name in payslip for easy reference. Then, determine how the contribution amount will be calculated either as a fixed amount or a percentage of salary. Enter the appropriate amount for the contribution, and once all the details are entered, click Save to finalize the contribution setup. In Paypeople, to configure allowances, begin by selecting the allowance category and specifying the allowance name in payslip for identification. Choose how the allowance will be calculated, based on default or present days. Then, define the calculation method for the allowance amount either as a percentage of salary or a fixed amount. Next, select the allowance tax plan, indicating whether the allowance is taxable or non-taxable. Enter the appropriate amount for the allowance, and once all configurations are complete, click Save to finalize the allowance setup. In Paypeople, to configure the gross salary structure, begin by specifying the structure name. Add the relevant allowance by selecting the appropriate element and defining the method type, such as fixed or percentage. Then, select the amount coming from percent of allowance, fixed value or percent of gross, and the value for the allowance. Similarly, add contributions and deductions to the structure by specifying the corresponding element, method type, from, and value for each. Once all the elements, allowance, contribution, and deduction, are configured, click Save to finalize the gross salary structure setup. To configure the expense category in Paypeople, begin by specifying the name of the category. Choose whether the expense is paid in salary or cash. Define the type of expense, e.g., reimbursement, and set the effective from date. Once all the details are entered, click Save to finalize the expense category setup. In Paypeople, to manage security, you first need to create roles such as HR, Finance, or Self-Service. To create a role, click on Create a Role. Enter the role name, then select the appropriate access options for that role, specifying what areas or functionalities the role should have access to. Once you've configured the role, click Save to finalize the role creation. Once the roles are created in Paypeople, you can manage users by assigning them to the appropriate roles to ensure they have the necessary access. To assign a user, begin by selecting the employee who will be assigned the role. Then, choose the role you want to assign, such as HR, finance, or self-service. You'll also need to provide the user's email and set a password for their account. Additionally, select the reporting hierarchy if applicable, and decide if you want to apply any mobile restrict settings for the user's mobile access. After entering all the required information, click Save to finalize the user assignment. To create a new employee in Paypeople, go to the Team section and click on the Create New button. Start by filling in the mandatory details, including gender, first name, last name, date of birth, marital status, religion, employee code, attendance machine code, country, and city, then click Next. On the next page, provide official details such as hiring date, joining date, employment type, probation end date, confirmation date, shift, work location, designation, and department. If applicable, you can also add bank details, then proceed by clicking Next. In the following step, input salary details. If the employee is paid hourly, add the weekday hourly salary and weekend hourly salary. For a salary-based employee, select the pay period, then specify either the basic salary or gross salary, and move to the next page. On the next screen, upload relevant documents by selecting a file, adding a description, and specifying the expiry date, then click Add to List. Click Next to proceed. Optionally, add dependent details on the subsequent page. Finally, configure the attendance options, deciding if the employee can mark attendance via the web portal or mobile app, select the overtime policy with its effective date, and choose options for marking attendance, such as QR code or face recognition. Enable tracking if you want to monitor the employee's location. Assign multi-locations if necessary, and optionally add an onboarding checklist. Once all details are complete, click Save to finalize the new employee setup. To process an offboarding in Paypeople, start by selecting the employee who is leaving. Specify the separation type, e.g., resignation, termination, and provide the reason for the separation. Indicate whether the attrition is regrettable or non-regrettable, then enter the resignation date and last working date. If applicable, enable the payroll hold option to pause payroll processing for the employee. Finally, assign an offboard checklist to ensure all required steps are completed during the offboarding process. Once all details are entered, finalize the process to complete the offboarding. As a manager, if you want to assign a task to your team, simply tap on the Create a New button, select the employee, and fill in the task name, due date, and any notes. If you want to add subtasks, you can do that here as well. Then select the employees who has to perform the task. Select the tag. Once you've entered all the details, click the Save button. The employee will be able to view the assigned task in their My Tasks section. Lastly, you can use filters to search task by from date or by employee or by using other options. In the Organization Chart section of Paypeople, you can view the complete company hierarchy. This feature allows you to see the reporting structure, displaying which employees report to whom, providing a clear overview of the organization's chain of command. In the Time section of Paypeople, you can view or modify employee attendance. The Live Attendance feature allows you to monitor the current day's attendance, with the option to apply filters for easier navigation. In the Employee Attendance section, you can view a complete month's attendance, represented with symbolic icons. Each icon's meaning can be easily understood by clicking on the employee's name, which displays their entire monthly timeline in a single window. If you need to manually add or update attendance, click on the Add Attendance button. Select the employee, specify the attendance date, time in, time out, provide the reason for changes, and click Save to finalize the update. In the Employee Overtime screen of Paypeople, HR managers can review and approve employees' overtime requests. Additionally, if needed, you can manually add overtime by clicking the Add Overtime button, selecting the employee, entering the required details, and saving the entry. This ensures accurate tracking and management of overtime records. In the Shift Calendar option of Paypeople, you can assign shifts to employees either for a single day or for a range of dates. Using the available filters, location, department, shift name, and select dates, you can efficiently schedule shifts for individuals or groups of employees, ensuring proper shift allocation and management. In the Pay section of Paypeople, you can efficiently manage payroll by using the Run Payroll option. Start by selecting the appropriate payroll schedule, and then narrow down the payroll run using filters such as office location, designation, department, employee types, or by directly selecting specific employees. Once payroll is initiated, it progresses through 5 stages: draft, pending, approved, finalized, and disbursement. Each stage can be assigned to a different role for review and approval, ensuring a secure and streamlined process. During payroll processing, you can view detailed breakdowns of allowances, contributions, and deductions. You can also make manual adjustments in real time individually through Excel import or via bulk update for efficiency. Finally, you can generate and download the monthly payroll sheet in Excel format, containing all mandatory details for record keeping and review. Lastly, you can download or view the payslip of employees and can send them through email, or employee can download it through their self-service portal as well. In Paypeople, there are multiple types of analytics that offer comprehensive insights into various aspects of your organization. The People Overview provides complete details about your employees, giving you a clear picture of your workforce. The Leave and Absence section allows you to track all employee leaves and absences, helping you manage time off effectively. Present Insights offers monthly attendance analytics, enabling you to monitor employee attendance trends, including punctuality and absences. Lastly, the Payroll dashboard gives you a clear view of the monthly payroll details, as well as an overview of the yearly budget, ensuring that payroll expenses stay aligned with financial plans. These analytics help in data-driven decision-making and efficient management of your company's workforce. Additionally, all these reports can be downloaded or printed for easy reference and record keeping. In Paypeople, there are a variety of reports that provide detailed insights into different aspects of your workforce. These reports include Employee Overview reports, which give a comprehensive view of your employees, Employee Attendance reports, tracking attendance data, Employee Fund reports, detailing employee funds and contributions, Employee Income reports, offering insights into employee earnings, Employee Payroll reports, summarizing payroll information, and Employee Leave reports, which track employee leave data. Additionally, there are other relevant reports to suit your organization's needs. All of these reports can be generated using various filters to tailor the data to your requirements. Once generated, they can be downloaded in both PDF and Excel formats, making them easy to share, analyze, and keep for records. Lastly, after setting up your organization, you can manage and view your day-to-day tasks on the dashboard. Your company logo and name are displayed on the front dashboard, providing a personalized touch. Additionally, you can easily view or take action on any requests generated by your employees by clicking on the relevant request. The dashboard also displays time-offs, employee attendance, events, and birthdays, ensuring you stay on top of all important activities. I hope you found this video helpful and that it will guide you in setting up your organization in Paypeople. Thank you.